I just want you to know that we are so glad you're joining us this morning. If this is the first time for you checking out C3, just comment and let us know. We'd love to know that you've joined us here this morning online. Now, I've had a theory before this coronavirus that I want to kind of test out this morning. I truly believe there are only two different types of people in the world. I think you have germaphobes, and then I think you have people who say it'll just make your immune system that much stronger. Now, I obviously grew up in a home where it was always that will just make your immune system much stronger. Obviously, things have changed in the last few weeks with everything going on. But I found this video online, thought it was hilarious, and I just want to kind of show this to you, kind of the opposite spectrums of people. And as you're watching this, feel free to comment. Where are you at on this? Would you say, yeah, if I'm honest, I'm a germaphobe? Maybe you're used to not being, now you are. Or you'd say, if I'm completely honest, I just think it makes us stronger in the long run. Check it out.
Oh, shoot. Ah, darn it. 5-second rule.
No one goes out without a mask, okay? Now have fun.
Yeah, let's go out, have some fun. Oh, this isn't working. I don't know, maybe find a flip cup tournament?
I have to go out for supplies.
Be safe.
What's up, man? Oh, stick shift, huh? Put her into fifth.
Now we wait.
Now we wait.
Okay.
High fives.
This is normal. We're okay.
So which are you? We obviously want to have a little fun this morning. We know this is a very serious issue, and we've been praying for people. We're praying for you guys, and a lot of people going through some really, really tough stuff. But as I was thinking about why has this thing bothered me the most? What's really behind all of this? And as I think about it, I honestly think for me, and I would have probably never said this before, but I think the idea of me not being in control. And I want you to think about that for yourself. It's like the schedule I used to have, the things that my wife and I, our family, our kind of our routine, it's all been completely just like thrown out. It's in the wash. And as you think about this routine and change, it's like I feel like I'm losing control. It's been really kind of difficult to get in this new rhythm of life and things that you would typically say as a family, we do this every Friday. Now that's gone. You know, we love to go out and eat. Now that's gone. So I think for a lot of us, it's just kind of thinking through what that looks like in this new normal. But the truth of the matter is, when we're control freaks, and even if we're not control freaks, we all hate to be interrupted. Think about it. If you're talking and someone kind of steps in and butts in, you're like, what are you doing, right? Why'd you interrupt me? But any of our plans also, when something interrupts our plan, my wife is an amazing lady, but I can tell you this firsthand. If we have something planned and that plan gets canceled, it crushes her soul. Literally, she can't function that day because it's like, that's what we were going to do, now we're not. She just doesn't handle that. And the more I think about it, none of us like to be interrupted. But this morning as we look in the book of Luke in chapter 4, I want to give you an idea, and I want you to kind of think about this. What if the interruption is actually our invitation? Let me say it again. What if the interruption is our invitation? We're going to read a story about Jesus, and he performs kind of a cool miracle. But I think more than that, the more I look at Jesus' life, people were never an interruption. And if there's anything good that can kind of come from this whole virus, and obviously just a lot of tremendously terrible things have happened, and don't get me wrong with that. But if there's anything good, I think it's teaching me to kind of embrace the interruptions. And with my life being interrupted, it's time for me to kind of step back a little bit and say, you know what? Maybe this is an invitation to do some good, because that's what Jesus did. He never saw all the things that interrupted his plans as something that was terrible. Matter of fact, he usually used it for something really good. So as we read this morning, I want to kind of share with you Luke 4. We'll start in verse 31. It says, "Then he went down to Capernaum, a town in Galilee, and on the Sabbath began to teach the people. They were amazed at his teaching because his message had authority." So if you don't get anything else today, I want you to stop for a second and realize this. There's authority in Jesus. I know that sounds kind of churchy and cliche, but at the end of the day, when we all look around, we're like, you know what? Is there stability in our economy? Is there stability in our health, our health care? We don't know any of that. But I do know this. I know there's authority in Jesus and his word. And it was no different then, and it's no different now. But we're about to see something crazy happens. It says, in the synagogue, so he's in there teaching, there was a man possessed by a demon, an impure spirit. He cried out at the top of his voice, "Go away. What do you want with us, Jesus of Nazareth? Have you come to destroy us? I know who you are, the Holy One of God." It's interesting to me, though, that it says right there that literally he cried out at the top of his voice. If I could be of any encouragement to you at all today, one of the things I would like to tell you is the enemy always tries to outshout God. Some of you are experiencing that right now. You've got fear, you've got anxiety, and I think in those moments the enemy is shouting into your soul. The enemy is screaming at you. What do you want to do? Why do you believe? All these just terrible thoughts we have, the enemy always tries to shout louder than God. But we're going to see in this story a couple of really, really cool things. And it's my goal, and I hope it's your goal as well, as we get through this, how can we be more like Jesus when life interrupts us? How can we be more like Jesus day to day when maybe things don't go as planned? Because obviously he's teaching here, great things are happening, and then all of a sudden this guy just speaks up, he's screaming, he's possessed by a demon. I mean, you talk about ruining a church service, this would have done it. But I want to give you just kind of two quick thoughts that Jesus did. And I think this is something I want us to keep in mind again as we go through the upcoming weeks. And the first is this. What if we had learned to trade control for compassion? You see, at the end of the day, I want to be in control, but as I'm trying so hard to be in control of everything, I lose sight of the most important thing. And that's that Jesus called me to love others the way that God has loved me. So let's trade control for compassion. Look at verse 35. "Be quiet," Jesus said sternly. "Come out of him." Then the demon threw the man down before them all and came out without injuring him. Kind of caught my attention this week as I was reading back through this. He came out without injuring him. See, Jesus could have done a lot of things there. He could have, I don't know what options he truly had. But one of the things I noticed is he still cared for this man that was possessed by something that was really bad. And I love it says it came out without injuring him. You see, in our lives, we want to choose control. We want to be in control of every little thing that's happening. But Jesus said, as opposed to control, I'm going to choose compassion. There's so many stories in the New Testament where Jesus' plans completely get changed and you don't see him throwing a fit, you don't see him agitated. He actually uses that moment to show compassion. One time he was very tired and he told his guys, he said, "Hey, let's just get out here. I've got to rest." And on the boat as they were heading to a new place, literally there were just tons of people because they were wanting to touch Jesus. They needed miracles. And the Bible says that he moved forward because he had compassion on them. So let's focus on trading our control in this moment, in this time period, for compassion for others. Let's get our thoughts off ourselves so much and actually think about the compassion for others. And then the second thing real quick I think is really neat, and that's turn obstacles into opportunities. You see, I think a lot of people right now, I'm hearing them talk, and yes, it's tough. And there's obstacles, and life's different, and people are working remotely, and people are getting laid off, and all these things are obstacles. And a lot of those are not good obstacles, right? That's tough. But what if we would say, you know what, I want to turn all of these obstacles into opportunities. Every obstacle I have is an opportunity for me to show faith and to show God's love. Look at verse 36. It says, "All the people were amazed and said to each other, 'What words these are! With the authority and power he gives orders to impure spirits, and they come out.' And the news about him spread throughout the surrounding area." So this morning, I've got kind of a simple challenge. I'm going to give you a couple options, and these are actually kind of tough. I'm not going to lie, and I'm going to give you some easy ones at the top, and then we'll kind of go down through just some hard things to do. But how can we put this into action? How can we this morning say, you know what, I'm going to trade my control for compassion, and ultimately I want to see these obstacles in my life I'm facing, I want to turn those into opportunities to show God's love to other people. Because I believe this. I believe that our life's interruptions can actually equal divine opportunities. Throughout the New Testament, we see this happening with Jesus time and time again. We see these interruptions come in, and Jesus always uses that as a divine moment. So this morning, I want to give you a couple things. Just kind of a quick challenge, and didn't want to take long with this message, but I did want to kind of challenge you on a couple things. So what can you do? Life's interrupted. Now you're at home. Your kids are at home. How do we handle this? Well, the first way I think we can make this really an awesome divine opportunity is to spend quality time with those in your home. As opposed to just thinking now, what Netflix show do we watch? And there's nothing wrong with that. Or, we can plan this. What if you actually took this time for all of us to get off of our phones and quit checking Facebook for a little while? And we said, let's go outside and shoot baskets or play a board game. Like, let's actually just spend time with each other. I've said it before, but it really haunts my wife and I. Our kids are freshmen, close to the end of their freshman year. That means 3 more years they're out of our home. And throughout all this, and I hear people saying, no. And I've heard some really funny stuff where moms have had to be teachers now. And my wife and I were laughing the other day. A lady said, first day of homeschooling, and one kid's already suspended and the other won't do his homework. And I thought, those are funny times. But at the end of the day, instead of us complaining about this, let's spend quality time with those we love. Because truth of the matter is, we may not have much more of that. I know in my home, we don't have a ton of that left. So I want to spend quality time with those. I don't know what that looks like for you, but I want to challenge you to think, how can we spend quality time together, especially with those in our home, those we love? Another thing's really easy to do, but I want to challenge you to do, and that would be to call or text someone who may be alone. And I think for some of you here, instantly you can kind of think of that person that you know is older, maybe they're nervous, maybe it's a family member you haven't talked to in a while, but just a quick text or call someone, hey, how you doing? I think right now the scary thought for me is people with mental health and depression and things like that. Man, this is a time when everybody's saying stay away from people, and some people really, really need that. They need people. And right now they're in a time in their life where like, I don't have that. And that's scary for them. That's scary as we kind of think of those people. So what would it mean for you to just call or text? Hey, how you doing? Haven't talked to you in a while. You don't have to be within 6 feet. You can be much farther than that and still reach out to someone. That could be a divine opportunity. As you know, we partner with the South Point schools, and I don't know what school district a lot of you live in, even if it's not South Point. But you can definitely help us as a church. We would love that. But the third thing is to drop off supplies for school lunches. You can drop those off here. I'll include a link, and you can check that out. And we'll put some outreach stuff available on our app. Go there when you click on Church at Home, and we'll give you the stuff you need to bring. But it's a great way to help some other people right now who are struggling. There's some kids that, they may hate school, but they actually love school because it's the best time where they get a decent meal. So for you guys, it can be just dropping those off here. If you live in another school district, calling someone, call a teacher, call superintendent, whoever, and say, hey, how can I partner? I want to help out. It's a great time for us to show these moments where we love and divine opportunities. And here's one that's a little harder. They're kind of increasing as we go up. Just 2 more. But what if you and your family sat down and just wrote cards to nursing homes, different people who are maybe shut in? You know what that would mean to someone? Just get a simple card that said, hey, thinking about you, praying for you. Here's an ugly picture. And let's be honest, our kids draw ugly pictures. We always say we love it. We don't. But truth of the matter is, what would it mean to someone to get that? What if you sat down and wrote 10 of those and just mailed them to a nursing home? They can hand those out. Imagine what that would do for people who are truly isolated right now. Maybe even have family members, people you know. Just write them a card. It takes a little more work, but you know what that means to get something in the mail and realize that? And then the last one, I'm just going to give you kind of an idea down here, and I'll share the link and show you the picture. But what if you shared a card, something similar to this, that had some contact information, said, hey, if you need anything, if I can just be a prayer, whatever. And what if you maybe set that on the porch of several of your neighbors that you know are really nervous or going through some tough times right now? What would that mean for them? So that's what I want to challenge you to do. I want to challenge you to realize that the interruption may actually be God's invitation to show His love. And I want you to do that. And before we pray, I want to kind of share how this hit us, okay? So it's been a few weeks back. Kids are still in school. I'm bringing them home from their different spring sports and their practices and weightlifting. But my son and my daughter are both in the car. My daughter had one of her friends in the car as well. And we're driving by a pretty rough area in Ironton, like a housing development area. It's kind of struggling. As we're driving by, there's a white Giovanni's pickup truck in front of us. And all of a sudden, his brakes, he's slamming on his brakes, and I'm behind him, so I was slowed down. I come to a stop. And this guy, younger guy, I mean, maybe literally in his 20s or early 20s, hops out of the truck and heads off towards this housing development. And all of our eyes are just locked on this guy. Like, what in the world is he doing? You know, we're all watching, like he literally just locked up his truck, hops out, and he's running this house on the phone. I thought, man, they really wanted their pizza fast, right? I mean, to just go that fast. And we look over and we see on the sidewalk, there's this little kid, very tiny. I mean, literally maybe 3-4 years old, super small. And he had a ball, and he had dropped the ball, and it was rolling out into the street. And as we all just sat there for a moment and we watched this scene unfold, and I'm not making this up, my kids asked them about it because it really like just caught all of our attention because we watched this guy get out of his truck. He runs to this kid, grabs the ball, hands it to him, and then turns him around so he can head back on his way home back into his house. And in that moment, we got really quiet. And I just kind of in the car said, wow, that was amazing, wasn't it? And I'll say that, I don't know, maybe the Giovanni's guys listen sometimes. A couple of good things about it. One, my daughter and her friend both thought he was extremely handsome. They were like, let's order pizza tonight. I want to see that guy again. But secondly, I think for all of us, it was a simple moment and it wasn't that hard, but he stopped. Instead of taking the interruption and just, oh, it's another thing, instead of maybe for some of us being so worried about our own stuff and what we've got to do that we don't even see this stuff, but it really just hit us hard as we all just kind of sat there. We're like, that's one of the most impressive things we've ever seen. Now, here's the thing, some of you are like, Trent, really? A guy stopped, got a ball hand to a kid. That's not a big deal. But it was. And I think it was a big deal because that guy taught me a great lesson that day. People are never an interruption. People in your life, in my life, even these situations we're all freaking out about, like it's awful, and it is a bad situation. But you know what? I know that God takes these interruptions and He actually turns them into great invitations. Invitations for people to learn more about Him. Invitations to love God more in our own lives. And I think even more important, invitations for us to show love. So as we're pulling back off, obviously we're just all kind of like, that was the coolest thing we've ever seen. And what hit me the hardest about that whole story is it wasn't something that was that hard to do. It was just simply someone slowing down enough to care about someone else. So this week, if I could challenge you to do anything, and I mean this, I'm going to challenge you to get off the Facebook post for the 8 hours you're scrolling to see the new updates, and I caught myself doing that this week as well. But what if you just slowed down for a second and said, how can I really get my focus and my attention the way Jesus would if we're going to be more like Him, and actually want to show compassion to those around me? There are a lot of people in your neighborhood who are scared, who are worried, and I know we're not supposed to touch people. I'm not telling you to go into their homes. But how can you be creative this week to slow down and stop and say, you know what? This isn't an interruption. This is actually a great invitation. So as we pray today, I'm going to challenge you to take those same steps. So if you would do that, just join me real quick as we pray. Father, I pray that you would help us to see every interruption as an invitation. Help us to realize even in this time with invitations, that we invite people to church, how we do that. Well, it's as easy as literally sharing a link. It's a way for us to slow down and say, how can I love my neighbors? How can I call or text someone that I know may be lonely? God, help us to be just like Jesus. And I think the craziest thing about this story that we just read today is as He's doing His thing, this man comes in, completely interrupts everything, and we see Jesus embrace the moment, and something amazing happen from that. Help us this upcoming week and the next several weeks to embrace these moments and to see You in the littlest of details. Help us to realize that these interruptions can actually be divine opportunities. I pray we all would take one of these choices that we just listed and actually just kind of put that into practice this week as we show Your love to a world and a country right now that is devastated, that's hurting, that's scared, that's going through some really tough stuff. But we know that Your love always prevails. Thank You for loving us. Thank You for giving Your Son Jesus. We ask all these things in His name. Amen. Can you stand where that little pink dot is right here?
It's our Easter video.
You know what you're going to say?
I have no idea.
I'd just like to read this to you, okay? Alicia, we all have that one friend who makes you want to be a better person. The one you look to for everything. the friend who came into your life and changed you for the better. In my life, that was you. You're such an inspiration in my life and have been since I met you. You exemplify how to live a life like Jesus. I will never be able to thank you enough for never giving up on inviting us to church. Because of you, I feel like I belong to a church that is free of judgment and full of Jesus. A church that we look forward to coming to on Sunday mornings. A church that my daughter loves and is excited to come to, thanks to you and the wonderful Pearls Kids Ministry. Over the last year, myself and my family have grown closer to one another, and most importantly to God, thanks to you and all the C3 leaders. You have made one of the biggest impacts on my life and guiding me towards my faith. And for that, I will never know how to thank you enough for all you've done for myself, my family, and our relationship with God. I know you're going to change more lives than mine with your passion for Jesus and your church. I love you, Alicia Miller. Thank you for always being you. My favorite Alicia quote, Jesus said, "You don't have to like everyone, but you do have to love everyone."